Yeah, I appreciate people who can just like you were talking about, like even jazz earlier, is people who can like have an appreciation for music as a whole, no matter what genre it is. Some people are just like, they pigeonhole themselves too much, in my opinion.
Yeah, even then, but
Like, I
think,
get
like,
it for when it's like a career and like you have to, like, for branding reasons and stuff, but like when for like just like in your own free time listening to other things, I think is so important.
and I think for some people too, I think there's like a vulnerability there too, because like
Yeah.
everyone has their identity of who they are within themselves. And
Yep.
even within that, like as soon as you kind of like start chipping away and someone's like, here's something different, but maybe your whole life you'll listen to John Denver and someone's like, yo, dude, have you ever heard of XYZ?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's like kind of the same. It's kind of in the same vein that I live by. Like, I don't trust people that don't do drugs. And like, if you just don't listen to different kinds of music, like, where have you expanded your horizons in such ways?
Hunter, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I'm just gonna call you Wurzy, but you pronounce it.
It's Wurzelbacher. It's super German.
Yeah, very. Man, how are you? Welcome to the Underground Society podcast.
Dude, I'm glad to be here. Stoked to be here. It's been a wild day. You know, we had the eclipse today.
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
crazy. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Didn't get to see it though.
Yeah, you can't see it though. Freaking clouds. No, I know there's my roommate's very much into, she's watching the live stream right now. I think on there's some live stream on the Exploratorium. I forget, she knows the site, but there's a stream coming out of Texas, and then there's a stream coming out of New Mexico, or in Mexico right now, like with like showing in the path through a telescope of the total eclipse. So they're yeah, it's cool. So if like you who can't see it on you can't see it in real life because you're clouds, there is an option.
Yeah, I was bummed because we were supposed to have like 95, 96% totality, which was going to be so sick. And like,
where are you at?
So I'm in Nashville. I'm Nashville based, but
got it. Yep.
So I just visited family. I'm from Ohio, and like they were supposed to have almost like total 100% totality. And so where my girlfriend's from in Ohio, it was like, yeah. It was so whack. All the hotels were gouging their prices because they're supposed to have like a 3,000% increase.
So many people were traveling. Yeah.
Yeah.
That, and then also, I know they were doing, certain airlines are doing special flights during the eclipse so that they could be up in the air and see it at closer. Yeah, crazy. People are spending an astronomical amount of money just to see this eclipse.
And that's what I was thinking about, like when did those go on sale? Because like this, like people are scientists, they know this stuff's gonna happen. So I'm like, so when did this all become a thing? and then here's the thing too. Like, imagine you bought those tickets like 20 years ago. Like, I can't wait to go to this airline, and then you get sick or something. You're like, well, I just lost 20. I don't know if it's 20 grand, but you know, dumb amount of money.
Right.
Wild,
man. So I wanted to bring you on the show, not only just because you pitched yourself to me, and thank you for that, but also because you have gone on tour with one of my favorite childhood bands, Three Doors Down. So as soon as you told me that, I was like, dude, I would love to have you on the show just to simply talk about that. So that's where I want to start.
For sure. Well,
how did you get that opportunity? And like, yeah, that's just crazy.
It's the way you're kind of reacting is the way it kind of happened. I'm not gonna lie, it was super duper random. I was touring with this country artist, and our relationship was going super well, but they were kind of like running out of budget. I was like, okay, like the retainer I was on was great, but I needed to kind of keep it up. Yeah, well, Nashville's expensive. So I was like, all right, well, let me just go kind of just like throw some feelers out. In Nashville, especially with what I do in Nashville, it's the reason I actually moved down to Nashville is because so talk about a industry of like this niche thing of like touring media work. You think it's oversaturated, and in actuality, it's not. Depending on what genre you're in, if you're willing to be flexible, you're gonna get work. I literally just came back from New York 2 days ago and did a comedy show for Rip Michaels. It was super random. Buddy of mine reached out, and so I was reaching out to people on social media. I had a good friend of mine, Ross Tyson, who is a killer like video director in Columbus. He does a lot of the Midwest emo scene, and he shot me a DM. It's a screenshot of this person's story, and it was like, hey, in search of, multi-hybrid media person from this state to this state. I was like, all right, well, like, let me shoot my shot. So I sent over a DM. I was like, no, here's my stuff. You know how anyone's trying to be hungry and trying to get work,
shoot your shot, man. You did that to
I
me,
was
so
yeah, for sure. I mean, well, dude, it was cool. Even that's like a whole another topic. The no travel agency.
yeah.
And so, I was like, all right, send it over, and I didn't hear anything for a while actually, and I just assumed like just you send something over and you move on, you keep doing your thing. And he reached back out, and we had a phone call. He's like, all right, cool. I think you're a good fit. And here's the thing here to preface, I didn't know who this was for at all. I never knew. I only knew dates.
You're just dates and opportunity. Yeah.
Opportunity. I was like, sweet. Like I need work. Like, and also to preface, I've only been doing this for roughly a year, full-time freelance. Like
okay.
I'm still
currently.
Yeah, currently. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And it was in the end of 2022 is when I started, and I'm still living in Columbus. I wasn't even living down here yet.
Crazy. Lots of things have changed in the past year then.
dude, my life has been a series of events that are not unfortunate, but very fortunate. Yeah, it's wild. And so I got off the phone with him, cool. And then he sends me over the manager's number, and I get in contact with him. And then we have a little meeting. We go back and forth, kind of like an interview, more or less. Mm-hmm. And we get to the end of the meeting. He's like, all right, dude, I think you're going to be a great fit. Do you know who this is for? And I was like, no, I have no idea. Honestly, I just saw dates and you guys were willing to pay me. And I was like, sick. And he's like, oh, it's for 3 Doors Down. And immediately when I looked at him, I was like, in my brain, it was like, Kryptonite, nice. And all I could remember was when I was growing up, when I was younger, you remember seeing it on the PS2?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I had this vivid memory of being like 6 years old, like screaming in the microphone, but also pissing my pants laughing because it was that old guy in underwear just running around, doing all the things. And yeah. And then from there, it's just, I toured with them all last year.
Summer, yeah.
That was like, honestly, that was my first, I would say big boy gig. You kind of do a lot of media work for a while. And then when you go freelance, it's a little like intimidating. You're like, all right, like what's going to happen? And here we are.
It happened.
So, it happened.
I think that's really cool that you're new to this. How long ago did you decide to go freelance, and what kind of caused that decision to happen to go freelance? And then how long were you freelance until the opportunity came?
This is it all happened fast.
Yeah.
But I guess, so I'm trying to think where to start the story, because I started doing media work in high school and, throughout college, and kept kind of pushing the envelope, but never was really doing it like as freelance job. I would like get jobs, they'd pay me money, but nothing. I was like, hey, government, this is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And then I was working for this company after college, a production resource company for all sorts of media work. I mean, we were a production resource house. So everything from high-end camera equipment of like the brand new Alexa 35, a whole grip package to do a commercial shoot. We had everything.
Oh, wow.
And everything in Columbus kind of went through us production-wise for the most part. Not all productions, because we did everything from set work, and then we dabbled into some live work as well, live stream work. And so I learned a ton from that. But at the same time, loved that company because I interned there, and I love that company. But when they hired me on, my starting salary was $28K.
Oh, wow.
I didn't make much money.
Yeah.
And it was full time, and I worked close to definitely over, I would say we tipped into 60 plus hour weeks sometimes to 70 plus hour weeks. Didn't make overtime or anything, you're just kind of.
So those are like your grind years almost. Or like everyone, whether you're an entrepreneur, a vocalist, a musician, whatever you are, you always have that like, I'm working maximum hours for minimum pay, and everyone kind of has to go through that. So in your situation, it looked a little different, but to me, it kind of seemed like that was that time for you.
Well, it was wild when I was interning there, I was still living in Cincinnati. So here, this is how maybe dumb I am, or how much I believed in my dream of wanting to do what I do now. So here we go. I live in this small town called Ross, Ohio, in buttfuck nowhere. So we start here, and I have to go from here all the way up to Columbus.
Oh, man.
About a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
I would commute daily.
Oh, gosh.
I would commute Monday to Wednesday. So I drive up, drive back, drive up, drive back, do all the stuff. And
You're
then
spending 8 hours a week just driving.
Yeah. And then on top of that,
or in 2 days you're doing that.
Yeah. And then I worked 2 serving jobs. And then so from Thursday to Saturday, I'd go make my money. And so I'd work. So I don't know if you're familiar with Cincinnati, Ohio. There's a place called Skyline I used to work at.
Okay. The only thing I know about, the only thing that I've spent time in Ohio for is Lost Lands, which is Columbus.
Oh yeah, I've worked Lost Lands before. I really want to go just as a fan because I'm such a basshead through and through.
Yeah,
like, Skrillex to the heart, but especially Excision growing up, that was it. But so Skyline is this restaurant, and I love it because I grew up on it. But here's the premise of what Skyline food is. It's spaghetti, chili, cheese. Sometimes there's onions, sometimes there's beans, sometimes there's both. That's Skyline for the most part. And then they got like conies and stuff, but I love that shit, dude. I grew up on it and I worked there. So I worked there from lunch from like 11 to 4, immediately got off work at 4, drove down to Covington, Kentucky, worked at a steakhouse restaurant for dinner.
Oh my goodness.
So I'd work from like, sun up to sundown. And
in
then
2 different
Sunday,
states.
Yeah, 3 different states. And then on Monday or Sunday, I would try to do some freelance work if I could. My buddies had this car community called Good Enough Garage in Cincinnati that kind of got in from a community standard in Cincinnati, kind of in car culture. It got really big. We had these giant car meets, like thousands of people.
Yeah, I know you started out. I dug back into your Instagram and I saw that you started out with doing a lot of portrait stuff, a lot of landscape stuff, but then a lot of car stuff too. I wanted to ask about your passion there for cars.
Dude, it started with subwoofers, dude, and that bass head inside me. So it started with Pioneers, some like 12-inch Pioneers, and then like my buddy, you know what Sundown Audio is?
Yes, it's ringing a bell. I'm not 100%.
It is a stupid, expensive, fat-ass subwoofer that you do not need for a car. It's dumb. Okay? Like, think of, if you ever seen like a subwoofer, so the whole point of like a subwoofer and what like the aesthetic is of what you want your subwoofer to do is think of like the travel, because it has to move air, and that's how it produces that deep bass. And so you have like this giant fat lip of like foam that is like moving like to the point it was breaking our car doors and stuff. It was
shattering your windows.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like I literally so the air filter in my car, I used to drive a 07 Honda Pilot, and I was driving it one day and then just like it took a shit. I was like, what happened? What happened is the air filter disintegrated.
Oh my goodness.
All the bass, it like shook it so much and it destroyed it, and it got sucked into all of the, I don't know much. So here's the thing. I love cars. Don't know much about the inner workings. I'm like, that car is cool. But you ask me how it runs,
cargo
I'm like,
vroom.
yeah, cargo fast. That's exactly what it would be. And so, yeah, dude, it was a wild time. And then it like progressed. There were a bunch of gearheads, and they would really want to, start working on their cars. And I would like slowly kind of start filming it. And then we all used to go to our buddy's house. It was over there, kind of near Hamilton area. And we always go there to work because he had a good garage. His dad was a welder and had all these tools. So we could just like, it was like a playground for, nerds of engineering. One day, this dude, Mason, he's in there, and the whole joke was like, it's good enough. Good enough this, good enough that. And they're like, well, why don't we start like a brand or a company? Because he had like this Import Alliance and all these different like car brands kind of coming up. And then you have, I think it was Violent or Vector. It was some other car group. Like, let's start a car group. It's called Good Enough Garage. And then it stuck, and then Mason was like the spearhead of that. And I was a part of that for a little bit, just kind of doing media work. And it was hard for me because I went to Ohio University, which is like 3 hours away. So it was hard to kind of stay connected, and to go on the weekends back home didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
It was college. I was getting drunk on the weekends. I was like, whatever though. But yeah, dude, it was weird time back then. I do miss them. I think they're still doing it. I try to stay in touch with Mason. So it was Mason, Fawcett, Joey Motorbacher, Danny Reichwein, Levi Logan, Spencer Ivy. There's a couple of them that still like run it. I think it's mainly Spencer Ivy.
Oh, cool. So
Mason,
it's still
Fawcett.
around.
Yeah, it's still
Sick.
around. Well, it's so, especially with the community in Cincinnati, they had a spot. So this is where it gets even like funnier. We all used to work at this place called Full Throttle. It was a go-kart track.
Okay.
Yeah, like
Dude, I want to go
or
go-karting so bad. It's been so long. I love racing. I love racing games. I love cars as well. So
if you ever are in Cincinnati, check out Full Throttle. I can get you the
okay,
hookup.
bet.
Levi still works there. He's like their district manager.
Next time I go to Lost Lands, usually I'm out there for like an extended trip more than just a festival. So maybe I'll try and make it out to Cincinnati and I'll hit you up.
Dude, I'm telling you, yeah, let me know. I don't even see. That's the thing. Like, I'm gonna be on tour from like freaking mid-July to like end of November, and like I'm hoping like there's a break in September for me at least, so I can go to Lost Lands because I was going to work it last year, but I was on tour.
Right.
I almost texted their managers like, "Hey, is there any way I could have like 3 days off? I would love that."
Specifically during a weekend.
Yeah, specifically like during that time, because like even when you work it, like it's fun.
Oh yeah,
you know, I don't know how to explain
I worked last
that.
year. I did the camping setup, or I helped people
sick.
like find their parking and stuff. So we worked like the first like we were there for a week, worked for the first like 3 days, 4 days, and then we got the rest of like the actual festival part off. So
that's sick.
Yeah,
that's actually super dope. Dude, maybe I should do that. I don't know if I like still have my contacts with because I helped with the live stream.
Oh yeah.
Dude, did you camp out too when you were working there?
Yep.
I did that. I took the option to go to a hotel, but I didn't. Camping's fun, dude. But dude, oh no, it was in 2022. Dude, it pissed rain like every morning.
Yes. Yep.
Dude, it was. I remember I woke up and I was like,
"Why is it wet?"
Rain? Dude, yeah, cool. Because I've never camped before. I literally went and bought a camp at REI. I was like, no, I think I know what I'm doing. I'm like putting it down. I was like, yeah, this looks good. And then I woke up and was like, dude, did I piss myself last night? I was confused.
No rain fly.
Well, I eventually figured it out, but even then, dude, I was saying that I would get off work at like midnight, and I was like one of the only ones in the group was like, well, because we didn't have to work till 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. the next day. I was like, well, I'm gonna go enjoy this. This is like it was my dream to always go to Lost Lands, and my first Lost Lands I worked, and part of me knows like that's sick, but I gotta go because I don't know, just because something about the culture there too is awesome. Like when I walked around, I was like,
it's my favorite. I have not been to Electric Forest yet, so I can't say this 100% for sure yet because that looks like a magical place as well. But Lost Lands, out of EDC, out of any big festival I've been to, it's been my favorite for a long time.
Electric Forest is up there on the bucket list just because.
Yeah, I've never been. It's on my list though.
but that one's more like vendor.
It's like it's like an art festival. Yeah.
See,
it's music, too. But yeah.
Dude, I remember. So when I'm going to loosely say I partied after I worked on the first night. I went to the vendors. I got my drug rug on. I went and got like my I don't know what they call those scarf things. And dude, I was just going around.
Pashmina?
Like, Pashmina. I was like going around vibing. I had my shirt off at one point, but I thought all those dudes left, and I had to go back to the trailer to grab my stuff and then catch the shuttle to my camp. And I remember I go back there. I didn't realize they were all still there. All like, cause like these dudes done it for years. Like they don't give a shit. Like whether they go do it. They're like, hey, we're working. You know, let's like they get whatever. I'm like, but I can mix work and play. And here I am like coming back. My shirt's off. I'm like, I got the parchment on my head. I'm just like walking back shirtless, and they all look at me and they're like, what the? They all just start dying laughing. I was like, well, I would have some fun. I was hanging out with the people, dude.
I was in the pit, bro.
I'm such a pithead, dude. I went and got someone even gave me one, so I ended up with two. So I bought one and then earned one.
Nice.
Like, yes. Dude, I was actually, where was I just in the pit at? Like aggressively. I think it was, there's this artist named Bill Murray, because he just did his Ohio World Tour. Genius.
Yeah.
And I'm from Cincinnati. I went back for Easter to see family, and dude, I like went to his concert. And what's funny enough, so the tour manager, Bill Murray, was our tour manager on the tours I've done with that other artist, Knox. And so like I hit him up. So we just ended up there. I was like front row on that rail, just like being an absolute idiot. And like it ended up being more of a job because there were so many crowd surfers. I was just had my hands up like this, like, all right, guys, we got you. We'll bring you over. All right, cool. All right,
next.
Over. We're good. Dude, it was sick, dude. There's something about music that's just, it doesn't matter what genre you're in. And that's why, I appreciate you, even willing just to like talk. Cause I think whether you're into EDM, you're into jazz, you're into You ever heard of that? What's that clown band that is like experimental jazz?
Insane Clown Posse?
No, not Insane Clown Posse. It's these two clowns, and
I don't know
they
them.
like make music in a porta potty.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's like this crazy experimental jazz. And it's freaking sick. It's just something about it just brings people together. It doesn't matter what you're into. Like
community
when you
aspect
show
of
up,
music is dope.
you're
agree.
into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a Billy Strange show recently, and that was, dude, it's like Grateful Dead with banjos. It's sick.
Yeah.
It's literally that. It's dope.
Dude, so going back to your the Three Doors Down stuff, I wanted to talk more about the tour with them. How did that go? I know are you going the rest of the year when you go back on tour? Is it with them as well?
Yeah, so I'll head back out. So actually, in less than a week, I'll be at the Port of Miami getting on a cruise ship with Three Doors Down and Creed and a plethora of other bands from the 90s.
I was gonna say Creed is like touring. I saw dates pop up like in my area.
I'll be touring with them.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's like it's the summer of '99 or '90s tour. So it's like so
is that the one that Daughtry's on too?
Yeah. So it switches on and off with so some days it's Daughtry, some dates it's Three Doors Down. I think for the most part, most of the dates are Three Doors Down, a special guest. I really hope I'm there when Daughtry's there because I've never seen Daughtry.
I love Daughtry.
Yeah. Well, you know what's crazy? So this is what's cool about living in Nashville is that anytime you go see a concert, there's always a high percentage a special guest is going to appear. Right? And I went and saw Disturbed at Bridgestone Arena, and he brought out Daughtry. It was
nice.
The lead singer, I think what's the lead singer's name? It's not Daughtry. It's totally wrong.
It's Chris Daughtry.
Chris,
his last name.
Well,
yeah.
Hey, there it is. That's actually a sick last name.
Yeah, right.
Last name Daughtry. What? It's better than like having a last name Smith.
Right.
Hey, what's up? It's Dan Smith. I was like, oh, cool.
Nice to meet you.
Dude, yeah.
Are you also white and 5'9"?
Dude, actually, I'm white and barely 5'5". You know, I got a lot of Scandinavian.
Oh boy, you're short.
In me. Oh yeah, dude. If I stood up right now, I would. Dude, that's why it's like for my stature for being a photographer, it's perfect. Dude, I can hide in weird spots. It's awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, dude. Well, here's the thing, right? You got these tall, lanky guys, and that's great for EDM because you kind of want those, back of the crowd shots. And if you ever see me at a concert, I'm in the back of the crowd, I'm on my tiptoes. I'm like, I got it, guys. I'm like holding my camera up so high. I'm like, dude, I got it. I'm like, oh yeah. Or I'll, you do the fucking giant monopod or something like that. And everyone's got their own like way of shooting shows, and that's like interesting as well because I personally for me, I don't. My kit, if some photographer saw my kit or videographers, they'd be like, "That's it." I'm like, yeah, all I have is like an A7 III, a 70-200, and a 16-35. That's it.
2 lenses and a camera. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do. There's no need for it, and on top of like the whole gimbal thing and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
I have a gimbal for my phone. That's cool.
See, that's cool. I honestly, if anything, well, for EDM, it's like, all right, cool. So here's your DSLR, throw that away.
Yeah.
Here's 4 iPhones, use these.
Yeah.
Good luck.
See you later.
Dude, it's, you follow that main stage mentality on Instagram. Dude,
it's so funny.
It hits me every time. And then sometimes there's some ones, like, man, that's good.
What would you say, kind of side tangent, but what would you say has been like being on tour? What has been one of your craziest tour stories? Because I know there's always like a few things from tour that's just like, did this actually happen?
There's this one time.
There's one in specific that you met someone famous that I want to bring up, but I don't know if this is the same story.
I met someone famous?
I think.
Oh, well, kind of. Well, see, that story is cool.
Okay.
Because like that dude is just like you think he is.
Well, let's say who it is. It's Guy Fieri.
Yeah, it's Guy Fieri. Like, that guy is. That I will say, top tier. That's a life moment for me. Like I remember when it happened, and we were in Boca Raton, and the tour manager or someone was like, "Yeah, Guy Fieri's go," or like I think they just kept saying Guy. I was like,
D guy.
It's like D guy.
Him.
Dude, I remember when like he rolled up, and I don't like. It's kind of one of those like when you when you start kind of doing tour work, media work, and you kind of start getting the industry, like starstruckness doesn't really happen because
Yeah.
you really start to see like they're just
There's
normal
people,
human
yeah.
beings. But when I saw Guy Fieri, I was like, nah, that's a little different for me. I don't know why. Like, dude, diners, drive-ins, and dies. Triple D till we die, dude.
Yep. I've
But it
been to
was-
like a few of the restaurants that he's like. I feel like all of us have been to specific restaurants because of him doing that show. Yeah.
He that was a really cool moment. And it's one of those too, because like when you're like a photographer, video media person, like, and especially like if you're specifically hired to like work for the band that you're with, and if they're a headliner or whatever, you're independent of the repertoire you have. And like over time, I kind of built up a decent repertoire. Like everyone in that camp, nicest human beings out there. Like it's there's you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Do they? I mean, I know they're older now, but they've never really struck me as the people that like they're very much like. And I want to say they're like religious people too. They're Christians. Like they're a Christian band. I'm pretty sure. Three Doors Down.
Yeah, for the most part, there's like super. Even if you go listen at like the what was the album that we just toured with last year? Not Rise of the Sun. Away from the Sun.
Yeah,
that whole album, like you go like look at the lyrics. I mean, most of them are pretty religious lyrics for the most part, and even Brad, the lead singer, even talking to him on some stuff. I mean, that guy is the most genuine, most nicest human being I've ever met, and like that was just kind of a cool thing to do, because like not everyone in the industry you work with or artist is going to be
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Some people are, but yeah,
some people it's like, I'm hiring you for this job, otherwise leave me alone. Yeah.
It was a pleasure, and even then, like you're still like you kind of. It's almost like if you think of being on tour is much like if you worked. It's work at the end of the day, and like if you go into like a work environment and you like
you have to be professional.
Yeah, and you got like your home, like you got your homies that you work with, but like even though it's a little bit more, I'm trying to think of the word. I keep using the word lucrative lately, but I keep feeling like I'm using that word wrong.
Yeah, lucrative means like how much money you can make doing something.
But here's the thing: I looked into it deeper. There is another meaning for like it's like ludicrous, but you can use lucrative as ludicrous. I don't know if that's true. I do it a lot. I'm like, yeah, it's very lucrative. And then everyone's like, you may make a lot of money. No, it's just like, it's lucrative, you know? And like, what the fuck do you mean? Like,
it could also be like prosperous too.
Yeah, okay, that's all right. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking too. I don't know, dude. I'm a media guy. I don't know how to spell. I took one journalism class in college, and I'm pretty sure I got a D on it because AP style is so much different than every other style I've ever done.
You know what's interesting is I've always been more of a math person. Like it has to make sense for like it has to equate out correctly for me. And but like, then I became a podcast and like journalist person, and now I'm writing and researching and doing a writing. I'm like, this is what I enjoyed in school, but I guess for music and something that I'm passionate about, I guess it works out okay.
It's so much different too, because especially when you look at math, it's very depending on what realm of math you're in, it's very black and white, right?
Yeah.
And with journalism, there's a lot of ambiguity. You kind of have to find things, and they may have pieces of information. You're like, these are connected, and then you got to figure out what that road pathway is of connectivity. But usually, what happens is there's something piece here that actually connects the two, which is like, oh, and usually it's just like it's just how people know one another. And honestly, when you kind of start going down the journalism route, it's a lot of sociology and kind of community studies. You're kind of like looking at it like, okay, like if so living in Nashville is very interesting because you got a lot of camps out here, a lot of not cliques, but just like groups of people that hang with them.
Right.
But these people, like everyone knows one another, but like everyone just kind of has their.
Well, because there's different, especially in like the music industry out there. There's so many different styles and genres of music that everyone thinks of Nashville and thinks country, but there's way more than that.
Dude, look at so prime example. So Hardy is the kind of, I would say, that chameleon that kind of like bounces between musicians. So for example, Beartooth, great band. So
I've heard of them actually, yeah.
So I may butcher this history lesson, but it's fairly accurate from what I know. So there used to be this band in the Midwest called Attack Attack, right?
Yes.
And that band pretty much DV'd off a ton of amazing bands. Bill Murray, Dance Gavin Dance and Beartooth. They all were a part of them. They all kind of broke away.
I didn't know that. That's
and
dope.
did their own things. Yeah, which is crazy. And so speaking of Beartooth and Hardy, they just did a song together, and they're kind of like blending stuff together. And this is like not super common knowledge because the credits are not on Spotify or any streaming service. Bill Murray and Hardy have actually worked together on a song. So if you go look up a song called Corn-Fed Yetis, it's with Bill Murray, Knox, and Hardy. Yeah, and like at the end when you hear screams of like pull my head to the sink, like that's Hardy. Fun fact.
Nice.
But the label's like, yeah, we can't have him on there, dude. Just like you can put it out, but his name can't be attached to it. And they were like, okay. But I mean, that just happens too. Like, and that's like, it's where it kind of gets interesting. It's like people have like images in a way. It's like, hey, like, because like like Bill Murray is so amazing and it's just like what he does, but it's definitely like super left field, and it's one of those like it's like a deep fried Midwest emo meme more or less. Like it's hard to distinguish where it lies within the realm.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
It's either you love it or you hate it, but I freaking love it, dude. It's sick.
So, talking about all this music and rock music, what interests you, I guess, with EDM? I know you're a basshead and you've been to Lost Lands, but what about it like is calling you currently to want to work more in this side of music?
Dude, it's always been a love drive and a passion for me because personally, like, rock music and all this stuff is really, really fun, but really that's where my roots started. Ever since I was like graduated high school and like had a camera, I was like, dude, I want to work with DJs. I want to be in EDM.
Okay.
And for a good chunk there, how I actually kind of got my start was doing DJ gigs in Columbus. There was this guy, I think his name was like AJ Evans, some Canadian guy. It was smaller that I think I got paid like $70 to shoot his show. But like some fraternity was putting it on at this venue called Trism in Columbus. So that was like my first show. And then from there, I kind of like got like it got bit. I got the itch. I was like, ooh, I want to keep doing
so
this.
So photography kind of led you into the music industry.
It was always the dream and the plan was to
eventually shoot music stuff.
I don't know if it was exactly that, because I think everything I've wanted out of media and everything, I think I've gotten out of it. And this may be for you because you're kind of doing podcasts, kind of always learning things, trying new experiences. And I always had this like innate desire to constantly get fed new information. There's no way in hell I could go work a desk job. I couldn't do it. There's just no way.
No way. Yeah.
Now, granted, I've been strapped to my desk editing all day, but but for me, it was just like the beauty of media, any kind of media source. I'm mainly talking about production for the most part, because if you get strapped into a company or a creative agency of some sort, whether it's internal of a company or not, you kind of see the same stuff over and over again, right? Yeah. Some kind of commercially type thing. But the beauty of it is I've learned and seen so many different things I thought I would never get to do. And I've done it in a way, right? And like my thing was like, I have so much interest and passion in just kind of being alive, but I want to like learn and experience other people's lives and understand how they work and see what they're going through. And like, there would be times when I was younger, I would get bored and I would go just watch quantum theory videos on YouTube and like, this is fascinating to me. And then, I would take a left turn and I'm like, oh, cool. I love to learn about close quarters combat. That's so crazy. Why? I don't know why I want to learn this now. And so I have such an ADD brain, as you could probably tell from this conversation that we've been having, is that
it makes for a great podcast episode, to be honest. So just keep running, bro. I'll pop in when I need to and ask you questions.
Yeah, no, it's just, but that's the thing is, I don't know, dude. I've always just.
Like, you seem like you have a real genuine excitement just about life in general, to be honest, by talking to you for the last 30 minutes.
Dude, being alive is sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how else to explain that. And I think if you have the innate desire and the genuineness to just enjoy the beauty of like being and what is, and you don't have any expectation of like what it's going to get back to you, and you just kind of keep doing your thing, things kind of happen because in a way you kind of touch people from your interactions like that. And so the example was last week, like for the absurdity that is being a media, how to go from here to here. Like, so Wednesday I did a shoot for this Music Cares, and it's like a company that does, they're like all for helping out people in the music industry. Not like, I mean, they help out the artists, but people behind the scene, right? Because there's like literally their whole thing was like, hey, we're doing free ear molds to make sure you protect your ears while you're working on the road. Oh, here's also free boxes of Narcan, you know, just like, it's just,
so it's like almost, they have similar, like Insomniac has, what's their team called? Ground Control. Yeah.
That's pretty much exactly what it is. But even then, like working in music is such a, because you do it because you love it, and sometimes you'll work yourself really hard, and you get to the point of like, oh my goodness, I am burnt out. What is going on? And then that leads to roads of substance abuse and other things, and a lot of mental health issues. And so they're very big advocate, even to the point where we were there and they were talking. It was with Marcus King's crew. They're about to go on tour for his. They were about to go on tour for his tour. Yeah, say it. I don't know. Yeah, and they were like kind of giving them like talking about it and stuff. And one of the guys like, yeah, I have like these medical bills, and like I was out of work for a while. And they're like, yeah, talk to us. We can, like, they're kind of willing, like they're very supportive for the community that is the worker.
Right.
Cool. So starting from that, we did that, and got to shoot Marcus King. But I was a grip that day. I was just setting up lights and stuff and being a grip PA. I leave there, and I get 2 texts. I get a text from someone, hey, can you go shoot the show tomorrow? Yeah, cool. So I shot the show Thursday, and I get a text from my one buddy, Tony Pape, who lives out in LA, who I met in college. He does like stuff for the NFL, the NBA. Like that dude is a freaking good DP and editor, and he's kind of made a name for himself in the LA scene of stuff. And he shot me, and he like also he's dabbled in the comedy scene, and he shot me text like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? I thought I was just gonna be in town. I was like, oh, I'm not doing anything. He's like, oh, cool. Can you go to New York and shoot a comedy show? I was like, are they paying for my travel? And he's like, yes. I was like, cool, I'm in.
Yeah.
And so it went from, and this is where this also ties into how freelance can be so volatile and nerve-wracking when you go into it. Where I was busy all last year, but from December until like now, I had no work. Right?
Interesting.
Like, I'd go do some door dashing and stuff, and like there's also like a sense of pride there too. You're like, oh, well, like I don't want to go get a bartending job just yet.
Hey, yo, Instacart and I've said this I think last episode, but Instacart and DoorDash is how I survive too. So when I'm not making money off, it's a very good opportunity for anyone who's trying to make in this industry. It gives you I love it because you to a certain degree you make enough money doing it as long as you're willing to put in time, and B, it allows for you're your own boss. So if you have gigs that come up, if you have things that are kind of unpredictable, like this music industry stuff kind of is, it's a great option for that middle time where you're not fully making a full career out of music income, but you're halfway there, and it's great to give you that flexibility. So anyone who's listening, I highly suggest it.
Dude, 100%. And I guarantee you right now, any of my musician friends that tour now with even some bigger name artists, like they
still do it.
Instacart, DoorDash, like, and our sponsor, Instacart. I'm just kidding.
Use
like
code,
DoorDash.
save 15%.
Yeah, whatever it would be. Underground 15.
Right?
15%, dude. But no, and I think that's kind of the cool part about this, is like what I'm talking about when you meet people is you're always finding a way. You're always adapting to the situation, because if you have that innate drive and passion for what you want to do, you're going to figure it out. Even when it sucks, you kind of embrace the suck.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, this sucks, but
that's
fine.
It can either suck doing what I enjoy doing, or it can suck doing something completely unrelated to it. So I'd rather enjoy, like, do something that I'm actually interested in and embrace that suck, because either way it's gonna suck.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you could be like strapped to a desk doing numbers daily, and like they're starting to like blend together, and they're starting to write out these words like "go follow your dreams," and you're like, "Do I do it?" And you're like, "Maybe." Yes. But I think there's that innate fear too, because, dude, you gotta risk it for the biscuit. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's really what it is. But yeah, so back to the freelance thing. So yeah, so I went from having no work to having a ton of work and getting DMs and texts from people, and I'm like, oh, cool. And because like there's always that voice in the imposter syndrome in the back of your head, and you're like, am I good enough? And you're like little guy on your shoulder, you're kind of like looking at your work together, and you're like, am I? And he's like, I don't know. It seems fine. Like, I don't know. Like then you go and you start comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah.
That guy's doing. And even if you're in podcast music, any kind of passion you're into,
all do it.
even if everyone does it. And I think like the one thing, because we're always like having the innate drive to make something perfect, but unfortunately perfection is like the worst disease
literally impossible.
You could ever have inside you, because it's unattainable, right?
Yep.
But they say if you're always constantly striving for the idea of the ideal self or this perfectionist thing, you'll end up creating something nearly perfect. So if you're always striving for it, you'll get there. But
same idea is almost that, like, as cliche as it is, shoot for the stars and you'll hit the moon or whatever. Like, you gotta shoot for that perfection, but it'll eventually you'll create something that is still far better than anyone else, just because you took that opportunity on yourself and you took that chance and you actually went out there and did it. A lot of people, like you're explaining, are just sitting on the sidelines, not wanting to actually take the chance on themselves.
Well, I think it's also just that you don't know where to start. You know,
yeah,
I think that's scary too. Because there's that silly little quote that I always find enjoyable. It's like 10 or 30 seconds or a minute of doing something is better than 10 minutes or 2 hours of thinking.
Yeah.
Right? Because something actually has been accomplished or got done.
Talking about your freelance stuff, I wanted to ask, I know a part of that is you set your own rate and wages and all that. I kind of wanted to bounce back before we get into that, though. What did that look like when you got that opportunity with 3 Doors Down? I know that's a big opportunity. Like you said, your biggest opportunity. Did you set your rate for that, or did they set that, or how did that work out business-wise? And you don't have to go into numbers or any details that you can't.
But I'm pretty transparent. I mean, like when I was starting, so when you start out, you kind of, like I said, the one guy, hey, you gave me $70. And actually, I'm not even sure if I ever got that $70 because I was supposed to get it, because the fraternity was the one that was paying me out. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, you kind of eventually get to a point because you're going to do a ton of free work. And I think free work is good to a point.
Yes.
But then you really need to start seeing like what your value is. And I think one of the best ways too is like starting to get involved with the community that is the media side of people. Start talking to them. What are their rates? I mean, not everyone's going to be as transparent.
Right.
But one of the best things to also do is be a secret shopper. And go call companies and be like, hey, like, what are I have, like, and you just kind of build out a description of what someone would ask you.
Right.
And then they're either going to come back with a quote or a rate. Now, granted, the music industry is awesome, but it's not as professional as it was when I was working at a production resource house, because people would call and like, hey, we have this thing, and you would kind of build a package together for them, you know, and then you're always kind of like, hey, what's your budget? Because technically,
I've also heard from, like, especially the EDM photographers that I've talked to, like Hyphy, that No Travel Agency.
Yeah.
He was saying, like, I wouldn't charge someone, like, if I'm doing someone a favor, like a homie, and they're a smaller artist, I'm not going to charge them as much as I would charge like a touring act. So,
dude, exactly. But even then, like, so especially depending on where you live at too, you're going to get like different rates all over the place, especially because like, hey, like, because the question is like, my thing is like, what are the deliverables? What do you need? And most people now, they're like, we want hybrid shooters, we want photos and videos. Cool. So let's say you have,
especially with social media, you have to.
Yeah, but let's say you have let's say you're doing an opening artist, or let's say you're doing like a mid-sized artist. And the reason I talk about this is because I talk about set time. So if you're having like a 25-minute set, 30-minute set, 45-minute set, and this is going to be different for EDM too, because the moments that are happening they're not kind of some parts are pre-done, some parts you kind of know what's
Yes.
going to happen,
Yeah.
but even in the other sense, there's a lot of unpredictability, right? And with EDM, when someone's up there DJing, there's only a couple things that may happen. A drop's going to happen, stuff's going to fly up, and they're going to have some sort of thing. That and this, I start to talk about moments here, and within that moment, you have to make a decision. Am I doing photo or video?
Right.
And if
Right.
the deliverable is, hey, we want 15 edited photos, and then we want a 45-second recap plus raw clips. So now your decision making, if you don't have the conversation beforehand, it can get really murky really fast. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, this guy's got a stage dive. Do I take a photo of the stage dive or take a video?
Right.
I can't
What
do
do you?
both.
What in specific do you actually want? You got to have that conversation.
It is that's the thing. And then when you even move over to the band world, it gets even more interesting because
How does that? Yeah, I haven't actually. The only photographers I've talked to have all been EDM, so I get how that works. But how does that compare to the band world? And what are, like you said, you explained kind of like the moments in EDM, but what are there the moments similar, or are there different things that are happening? There's more people for one.
I think the people thing can be can be kind of even keeled depending on if it's like a festival or like a smaller venue. Because even sometimes you're shooting smaller artists in the venues of 300 cap venue.
Right.
Like, specifically, if you look at, I don't know if it's 300 cap, maybe a little bit more, but there's a cool venue called Basement.
Oh yeah.
The Basement in Columbus, and there's also Basement East here in Nashville, and there's also the Basement, and there's also the End. Some of those venues are 250 cap. Some of them are 200. Some of them, I think, Basement is honestly like 100 cap, maybe a little bit more. Like you're tight. So, and then within that, I shoot a little bit different from other people because I'm looking for energy in a shot. I'm looking for like when the moment stops, you're like, oh, like you kind of almost like you look at it and you kind of maybe paint the rest of the moment with your mind in a way. Like I like when there's a little bit of blur. Like one of my favorite things when I was touring with Three Doors Down, and so they had this riser stage. So they had steps, and you had Greg on top of it. But this is wild. So the drummer for Three Doors Down, it's not the original drummer. The original drummer is actually Brad. Fun fact. He was like started to be the drummer, and then the band was like, and this is the only original members I think are just Chris Henderson and Brad Arnold. And so like when they were going about it, they were like meeting the singer, and then Brad hopped off the drums like, I'll sing, and then that's history. And they used to have a drummer before, but the drummer they have now is from Puddle of Mud.
Oh.
Yeah, crazy. It's I forget his name. I know his name's Greg. I forget his last name, but like I said, once again, super sweet guy.
Yeah.
But on this riser, they had so think of this riser, and then you had like steps all kind of around it.
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
is like this facing the crowd. And one of the things, I would go under the riser and get this shot. So I would throw it super wide, like a 16 millimeter, get under the thing. And when you start to travel with a band, they kind of like, I think there's more of a routine you start to see. And even bigger EDM artists has a routine, like look at Excision. I mean, most visuals are the same per night.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
They are actually almost 100%, especially for Excision, the same thing.
Yeah, but all songs are time coded. So technically during the set, he can still mix.
That's true, yeah.
But so all the songs he's going to use are time coded. So it's perfect. So there's no fuckery. There's no question mark.
Mishap,
but he can still at least DJ and have fun versus being confined to a certain.
Right.
Let's say, hey, we just got time code. Here's your whole hour and 30-minute set. Play.
Yeah.
Which sometimes most festivals
sometimes
are that.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the way it is. And so.
But with the band stuff.
I would always do. I'd always try to get that shot there. And there was one song. I'm trying to think of. There was a couple songs, but he would kind of lean up against these steps. He would lean up against them and fist bump into the steps to give this crazy energy. And like every time, I just wanted to capture that. And granted, like I had 3 shows per weekend to pretty much get enough footage to build a recap out for Monday next week.
Right.
Super doable. That's 100% doable.
That's plenty of time, yeah.
Yeah. But for the other situation is if you go work for an artist and it's a one-off and you're not going to go work with
you
them
only have
again,
an hour. Yeah.
You need to get everything you can in that hour. And if you don't, sorry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
and that's where you kind of have to like figure out your way with pricing. So usually a lot of people when they start out, it's like, hey, I'll do $150 a show. And their deliverables are like, hey, 10 edited photos and a recap. Usually those like end deliverables kind of stay the same. Some people want the raws so they can kind of do whatever they want with it. And then when you kind of start climbing up the ladder, you'll end up at 250 a show. And then you can kind of get to like that 350 mark. And still those deliverables are kind of the same. We want the raws, the raw videos, a couple edited photos, and a recap.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get up into the realm of 450, 600, and 700. And even then, deliverables kind of stay the same.
Okay.
Where you kind of start to deviate from this 350, 450, and so on is very similar to like the more commercially cinema side of industry where like, hey, they build a reputation, like that's a really cool name. So for I forget what is it, Tom Plant, Youngblood's media guy. That name is so prominent, that guy can name his price.
Right.
All he wants. Because
right.
one, he has someone that is going to pay because he's gotten to a point of expertise where he's going to want to keep him around.
Yeah.
He's going to do everything he can to retain him.
And you become, I don't know, hopefully, and I want to ask this too, but you almost create that relationship where like it's just a part of your team. It's just another one of your team members. It's just another, he works for this company. Like it's your in-house almost type photographer.
Absolutely.
And my question that I was going to ask you regarding that, where are you? Is that your goal with 3 Doors Down, or is that kind of in talks? Is that kind of where you guys are moving towards? Is that something you would like to do, or have you even thought about it?
Yeah, honestly, I haven't even thought. My brain, as you can tell, moves a mile a minute in 20 different directions. And so it's like Hellraiser. My body just gets pulled in all different directions from all these hooks. And I think if that's where it ends up leading to, that's beautiful. I would love that.
Yeah.
But in the same vein, you also have to look at some artists don't tour some years and they don't need you.
Right.
And so from a media standpoint, you're better if you can be an artist's main go-to person. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to know and make sure it's, explicitly said like, hey, like you kind of have to keep this rate for me to stick around. And then at that point, it's like, you're not salary, you're still freelance, but you're getting pretty much a salary. And you're like, hey, like there should be talks of like moving up. How do I get to a point? Because the whole problem with corporate most of the time is you cap out. There's a ceiling, whatever role you're in, right? And because if you're gonna make it a living,
I heard somewhere with some entrepreneur saying, maybe it was Gary Vee or something. They were saying like, unless you're a CEO, it's really hard to make over $200,000 a year.
Yeah, and in reality,
it's like depending whatever your industry is. That's just that for him. That was the case, I guess. But yeah, even in music, that's to a certain degree, it's true.
Dude, I made $28,000 work. You don't need $200,000. Like and even then, like you just have to live with inside your means. And
yes, I agree.
Maybe not go buy 7 beers a night. Keep a flask on you. Then you don't have to pay for anything.
How did you figure out, I guess, what your worth was?
I'm still figuring it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's a constant,
and it changes
constantly
too.
Learn. Yeah. I mean, by all means, every text, phone call you get about a potential gig, it's going to change. There's no innate things. I can tell you now, when I was building quotes out in Columbus, I saw DPs go for $1,500 a day.
Yeah.
I've seen DPs in LA go for $2,000 a day.
Yeah.
And, some people are like, well, that's outrageous. Why would anyone want to pay for a $2,000 person to be on their team? I was like, well, what value are they bringing?
Right.
Yeah. And so this is where you can even tie in the thing. Some people are going to be brought onto teams, sometimes roadies. They're hard workers. They may not know everything, but they're a hard worker. And damn it, they're really enjoyable to be around.
Yeah.
I'm going to be around this motherfucker for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
You probably do, but do you know Jelly Roll?
So it's very interesting. So there's this girl, she lives in Nashville now. I think her name's Jamie. I'm gonna be an asshole. I'm so sorry. Her name's Jamie. I'm pretty sure it's Jamie. Shit. I'm gonna look it up. No, I'm not gonna look it up. That's rude. But no, she shot for Jelly Roll. She toured with him. She was living in Columbus, and she just moved down.
Very cool.
She would actually be someone really cool
I'm
to
a
bring on the
huge
podcast.
fan of Jelly Roll, so
yeah, dude. I'll get you her contact. Bring her
Yeah.
on. She's a sweetheart, and she's really good, but she's going through the same thing. And so think about it, right? The person that has toured and shot for Jelly Roll moved to a new city and still going through the same thing. Finding work. It's always gonna be the thing. Is just like, what's the next thing?
Why I brought up Jelly Roll is because on his team, he has like a team manager that takes care of all like hiring, firing, taking care of that, and he's just like, dude, I just want to be homies with people. Like, I literally just want to, like, if you're a part of the team, whether you're, no matter what value you're bringing to us, like, I'm not the one in charge of that. I think that's super important. And I guess how many teams have you worked with that have almost like a team manager versus like the main star isn't really as in control of that?
I mean, even I would say partly Three Doors Down is kind of like that. I used to work with a guy, Adam.
I think that's so valuable for a big touring artist. It's like you need to just worry about your craft, showing up, doing your job, and let the business stuff, like having a manager for that is so important.
You don't need to worry about, and that's honestly, I fall into that same vein. I've even looked at like, do I just need to get like some sort of agent? Like, hey, worry about the money stuff because I don't.
You just want to show up and shoot pictures and do your art. Yeah.
Do my fucking job.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, his name's Chuck. He's a tour manager from Three Doors Down, and I love that man to death. He's like this like father figure in a way, but like he just runs everything amazingly. And I remember because I had a conversation with him before I even joined. He was like, because he doesn't want the drama, he doesn't want that. He's just like, it should be, dude. Like the job you're doing is. It's insane. Like your job is to tour and
comparatively to anything else in life. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's wild.
like even last year I had a job where me and Knox, we woke up. Well, it was New Year's Eve. We had a good time partying. I think we were up till 4 a.m. We had a flight at 6 a.m. to go out to New York because he had to film a music video and some photo stuff. And I just was with him taking photos and videos, and like me and him would always look at each other. We're like, dude, if this is work, life ain't bad.
Yeah.
Like, and then at that point,
that's how you have to look at it. Yep.
Yeah. And then at that point you start kind of putting the pieces together. Like, then and that's where I'm like, someone deal with the money. And I'm just here for the most part to do good work.
Yeah.
Live life and have a good time. Because if you always like, I think that stress is good of making sure, like financial stress is, I mean, it's not fun.
No.
Like I was at one point in my life, I had like negative $7 in my bank account, and I was like, this is scary.
This is scary.
Dude, I was in college, man, and I as soon as it hit like -7, I freaked out. It was my senior year, and this was like during COVID. I was like, oh shit.
Wait, 700 or 7?
I know it was only like -7. It wasn't like crazy. But like, it was just like a -7. But it still scared me.
Yeah, people are in like tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. Like,
yeah, no, for sure. Like it's one of those things. But dude, I freaked out. I remember like as soon as like, but I think like it's not like fear, but it lights a fire under your ass, and you're like, okay, I need to get my shit in check. Like I don't
have just zero money. I owe money. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, man, like it's like if I were to go up to McDonald's and be like, oh, how does this?
Yeah.
What? Here you go. And then you look at the count, just go negative again. I was like, huh. You can, and that's when you realize like you can do that. Dude, I didn't know that you could do that. I didn't know it was possible to have -$7 in a bank account until it happened. I was like, that's
overdraft
scary.
fees.
Yeah. That's like a whole nother thing. But
yeah.
I don't know, man. I think if you're doing, it's just like, I think finding the value is hard, right? Yeah. Because you're always going to have someone tell you what you're worth. I think you need to understand like, hey, this is what I'm worth. And then you need to be confident about your worth.
Yeah.
You really do, because you're going to have
standing on that firm ground of like not letting people push you around. It's like, oh, we're going to pay you this. And you're like, okay, then I'm not doing the job. Like you're either paying this or I'm not doing it. Yeah.
But a really good way to go about it is someone's like, hey, like this is what the budget is. And it doesn't really align with what you make normally. It is as simple as responding, hey, appreciate the opportunity. that's just
Not gonna work.
unfortunately not gonna work. And then all you have to do is you just find someone else that may be a younger person that is wanting to get a start in something. Just be like, hey, I've seen this person. They have really good work. They're trying to start out and make this a career. Try them.
Yeah.
And then give recommendations because I just had something happen last night. It was like 1 a.m. I was editing. This artist texted me. He's like, hey, dude, like, what are you doing these dates? And it gets kind of murky and stuff because I have rehearsal next week. And he needed someone to go from like the 12th to like May something. And I just wasn't the guy. Like, it wasn't the rate. It was just, I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
well, it's okay that I can't do it, but just know and just be human. This person's another human that's in a bind. I was like, hey, man, like I'm looking for this. I know it's not my problem, but if I can
help out,
send a couple send a couple recommendations, that goes miles more than what you know what I mean? Because and this is why you kind of have to have that innate desire, and it's really the idea of unconditional love is what I try to live by. It's just like we're all humans, we're all trying to do things. You know, you can kind of, tailor that design to your own life, but just, it was a guy who needed help. And if I wasn't making money
karma.
off it. Yeah.
I know you didn't do it for that reason, but also that comes back tenfold.
Karma's real, dude.
Yeah.
I got a story about seizures in karma. I won't say it now, but I'll say it off camera to you. Yeah, that's like a whole story, and that's why I believe in karma.
Karma's very real. That's why I always, whenever I have the opportunity, and we brought up Three Doors Down being a Christian, having Christian lyrics in there very much, like you walk by faith by their music. I'm very much a Christian as well, and that's one thing where I'm just like, not only is that a part of me, but I think going the extra mile, and not only karma, but I feel like God gifts us things as well. And going the extra mile of, even, the other day I saw trash on the ground that wasn't even mine, picking that up and throwing it away. Or, just the little things, going the extra mile comes back to you so much, whether you want to believe in God and that God gives you that, or karma, or whatever, the universe, whatever, it does come back to you if you go that extra mile. And I think by going that extra mile, not only are you setting yourself that next level up, not saying that you're better than other people, but that stuff usually, even if you are not doing it in a public eye, there is people watching you and watching your every move, in my opinion. So I think it's designed to come back to you tenfold.
And then here's the other thing too. It was easy to do, wasn't it? It wasn't hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Like,
it makes you feel good too. Like,
oh yeah. And that's why I think that's why I love Grace so much, is because it's like see love, spread love is kind of his whole motto.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah.
Just live life with your heart on your sleeve.
Do you find that you do that as well when setting rates? Like you might, work with someone else for this price, but then it comes back to you with a bigger deal?
I'm trying to think of a situation because like the answer is yes to that for sure.
Yeah. I think that's just the right way to move around life, but
it's not even like you get bigger rates. You just kind of,
it comes back to you if you like,
you do people's you start meeting people, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, even if you move down to, like, it depends on wherever your industry is and you move to a new city, then first thing you need to do is, if whatever you're trying to do, get involved with that community. And the word spreads fast. The world's small.
Yeah.
Especially, because here's the thing, like, if you enjoy EDM music, I can tell you right now, like, all the people we've said today, they are all connected in some way, shape, or form. There's that saying of like the idea of standard deviation. Like there's only 6 people between you and someone else. That's false. It's got to be way less than that.
Yeah, way less than that, like, especially now.
Yeah. But once you start getting into industry, it's like, oh, you're only like the one next handshake away from you're really, whatever you want to do, you're one handshake away. Because I think you also just need to always be proud, like not proud, but present with like, hey, this is what I want to do. This isn't like, and owning it. Yeah. But if you're always like kind of like timid, people notice that. And from a psychological point or like sociological point, they're just kind of like, all right, like they're just not as into it. They're not confident in their skills, even if your skills are here. But if you're portraying it in real life, like people notice. It's not to get all like scientific and stuff, but just all that.
Yeah.
All that, dude.
Well, we're already over an hour now, but I wanted to ask you just a few wrap up questions of, what do you see? What are some of your goals for the future? I know you're very interested in getting more involved in EDM.
Yeah.
What does that look like, and what are some of your like goals or aspirations moving forward into that?
So I don't know if it's gonna happen this year. This year, definitely want to do some more EDM festivals. I like to do Lost Lands again. The one thing I'm starting to notice about Nashville too is that we're starting to get more of an EDM scene slowly
Yeah.
because we don't really have one.
They're just growing generally everywhere.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a bar. There's this rooftop bar called Ava's that my girlfriend's friend works at. That is kind of like a house EDM
Oh,
bar.
cool. Yeah.
That's starting to come through. There's a new like EDM venue that just opened up. I forget the name of it. And then there is this one EDM venue I go to called Dirty Little Secret. That's pretty cool. But I think in general, just like this year, it'd be nice to do. And I wouldn't say get away from doing other music work, but I would like
Yeah.
to get more in the vein of EDM in any way, shape, or form. Whether it's if I have the ability that someone's like really good that I see in that industry and just either connect them with the right people. I think the other thing too is like I think like deep down in my little soul, I do want to be an EDM artist so bad, but I just don't like I think I feel like I maybe have a knack for it. So I think
Do you
maybe
produce?
learn more about because I used to DJ in college for shits and gigs. But I started learning Ableton last year, so I think start picking that back up and making some more stuff out of it. Maybe get a DJ gig. I don't know
Sweet.
if that makes sense, but yeah, dude, I think just getting
So
more
you want to
involved.
you want to get more involved even just on the artist side too.
Yeah, dude, I think
That's sick.
it's one of those, like I said, same thing. Like my whole purpose of ever doing media was to get involved in various topics and interests, and I have an absolute metric fuck ton of them. And so I'm just trying to.
I love it.
I'm trying to hit all the things
Yeah.
before I die. I mean, shit.
I think it's so. Again, I've said this already, but I think it's so cool to see your excitement and energy for life, and I can tell that like you're another one of those souls and another one of those people that if you're genuinely interested in something, you're going to do anything that you possibly can to like make that dream or that idea of what you want that to become into a reality. So I think you're going to be successful no matter what direction you point yourself.
I like wake up and I look at my compass of life and it just goes. And I'm like, I don't know which way to go. I think, yeah, dude.
The next step is always the right one.
Yeah, dude. Even if you go backwards, you're going forwards, right?
Yep.
That's what they say.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that'll be such a dope thing. I mean, for you, like, is even if with yourself with starting Underground Society podcast, like, what was not just talk about you, like, what was the reason you started Underground Society?
Yeah, I originally wanted to start a EDM radio station because they didn't exist where I lived. And
Where'd you live at?
Sacramento, California.
Oh, word. There's no EDM station in California?
No, not for EDM.
What?
No.
That blows my mind.
Maybe in
house
SoCal.
music-
Maybe in SoCal, but
Okay, yeah,
not
yeah.
NorCal. Yeah.
Dude, you can even do like that'd be so sick. Imagine you go to like a vineyard and you have like this jazzy house like EDM going on. That'd be fire, dude.
Yes.
Oh my god, that'd be sick.
Napa. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
No, but yeah, I originally just wanted to start a radio station, and then I was working with a life coach at the time. Still working with him. He's a really good friend of mine now. But
do you recommend a life coach?
Yeah, Nick Cherwink. Check out. He has a podcast as well, Headliner Mindset. I'm actually going through a coaching course with him right now. It's a 6-week course.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, I've been working with him for a long time. We're really good friends. But he pushed me to start my podcast 4 years ago, and then because it was like that original like radio idea, and then yeah, it just kind of took on a life of its own. And at first, it was just kind of like general interviews with people from the scene, and like they would have like a 30-minute mix, and then I really started like following like my internal compass, and I was now recently I'm talking about people's story in depth and like trying to help the next generation of talent by hearing these stories from the professionals in our scene, as well as I've mentioned it, but the Christian side of me, bringing that into and almost being a light in the music industry with that too. So kind of just bringing all of those pieces together and just authentically trying to be myself. So yeah, and I love talking to people. So it's a fun time. Past that though, I'm getting into management, either that or I'm going to become an agent.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
dude.
so business side of stuff. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you ever need an attorney, I got one for you.
Sweet. Probably will.
Rachel Gutman, till I die, dude. Dude, that lady's a tank and represents a lot of Nashville. But yeah, dude, let me know if you ever need to talk to anyone or
Sweet.
anything like that. I don't know. I can always point you in the direction of someone.
Yeah,
a lot of the
definitely.
publishers and labels that I talk to, mainly it's just two. It's Riverside or River House, which is Luke Combs' label and publisher. But like that's some of my friends are signed to them, and then every so often I'll go up with Knox and we'll go over to Atlantic Records and whatnot. But,
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
but I mean, even then, like when you start looking at companies like that, they are so big and have so many artists on their roster, you know.
Yeah.
But even
yeah.
then, like Atlantic Records,
if
has
you tap
everything
into
from-
a record company, then you're like, all right, what out of there are hundreds of artists, which ones, like, that would be a good connection to have.
yeah.
And I've had in the EDM space, like management companies and stuff, I become friends with like certain managers, and it's more convenient to get their artists on. So definitely, whoever can connect me to the next person, you know.
But it's so cool. Like you're not just doing artists for this podcast. You're doing
I'm just doing
wide
industry
gamut.
people. Yeah,
Dude, to get some tour managers on here, like it's
yeah.
always fascinating. And even then, like I know you want to like stick in the EDM scene, but I think like even branching out too,
Yeah,
it just sheds new light because everything,
Yep.
as much as it could be the same as one another, they somehow are different in a way.
very, very much so. Yeah, and yeah, even just sitting down with you, I know your experience is a lot more in like the rock side of things, so it's cool to like compare. And a lot of the people who listen to the show are EDM people, so it's cool. I'm sure just hearing something musical, a musical story, and it's the fact that it is in a different genre. It's cool to compare like the two industries together. Because I've had people who are like EDM artists now, but used to be in like the rap world, or I've had some other people like that where it's cool to just compare like the industries, because EDM is it's a very like standalone, like its own kind of thing in a way.
Yeah, but it's also a mixed bag of tricks too. 'cause
But
you got,
yeah,
like,
but it's
Sullivan
also-
King coming from like metal,
True.
and then
Yeah. Dude, he
and
just went on
then-
tour with Avenged Sevenfold.
that's wild to me.
Yeah.
Because whoever booked it, hell yeah, I love
right?
it.
How would the
Dude,
Avenged Sevenfold crowd react to that though? It's very,
So
like for an EDM fan, I feel like that might work out a little better, but being opposite and being like hardcore like Avenged Sevenfold fans, how would they accept? I don't know. Interesting.
dude, metal crowds are judgy. It's weird.
That's what I've also heard. Yeah.
Like I went to a Metallica concert, I think in like 2021, 2022, and freaking, so the bill was crazy. Ice Nine Kills,
Oh my goodness.
Greta Van Fleet,
Oof.
and then Metallica. What?
How much were those?
That doesn't make any sense. And like, do Ice Nine Kills, I think I gotta see them headline something, because the way their show works is so freaking sick, and they have all the outfits and the changes. But like literally, Greta Van Fleet was sandwiched between the two, which was weird. But even then, like the crowd of Metallica, there's such Metallica people. Like, and Ice Nine Kills is such new, I would say, like in a way, a new wave metal, not like Kim Dracula new wave, because that's its own thing.
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
talk about that forever. God, that shit's sick. But yeah, dude, it was wild, because like me and my homie were jamming out to it, but the rest of the people around us were just kind of like, all right, whatever, dude, this shit's cool. Mm.
Yeah, I appreciate people who can just like you were talking about, like even jazz earlier. It's people who can like have an appreciation for music as a whole, no matter what genre it is. Where some people are just like, they pigeonhole themselves too much, in my opinion.
Yeah, even then, but
Like, I
think,
get
like,
it for when it's like a career and like you have to like for branding reasons and stuff. But like when for like just like in your own free time listening to other things, I think is so important.
dude, and I think for some people too, it's, and I think there's like a vulnerability there too, because like everyone has their identity of who they are within themselves, and even within that, like as soon as you kind of like start chipping away, and someone's like, here's something different, but maybe your whole life you listen to John Denver, and someone's like, yo, dude, have you ever heard of XYZ? But and I don't know. I think it's like kind of the same. It's kind of in the same vein that I live by. Like I don't trust people that don't do drugs, and like if you just don't listen to different kinds of music, like where have you expanded your horizons in such ways?
Yep, yep.
So
Very true. Well, I got a couple wrap-up questions, and then I'll let you get out of here. If there's one piece of advice you could give yourself, your younger self, when you first started and made this decision to move into making the music industry your career, what advice would you give your younger self?
don't stop.
Yeah.
Just don't stop and keep fucking going. Because if I even my 18-year-old self or 16-year-old self, and I told him what I was doing now, that motherfucker would look at me and be like,
Dude, I think about that all the time.
no way.
Yeah.
And if I like looked at him like, dude, I'm serious. Like this is what's
gonna
happening.
happen. Yeah.
And he would be like, you're fucking crazy. You're
Yeah.
high. And I was like, yeah, I'm a little high, but I promise it's gonna happen. And it's not even that. I think,
I'm a little high, but so are you.
yeah, like so are you. Like it's okay. Like we can get through this together. Just grab my hand and we'll merge into one. Then reality breaks, and now we have another Doctor Strange movie.
But yes, don't stop.
Yeah, just don't stop. And I think for him too, and anyone listening, really, it would just be to really look in on yourself and just know that no matter what you do, for the most part, everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you do something, no one's gonna die. You know, you
Yep.
can get your money back. It's okay. Risk it all.
Yep.
You know, and
Definitely risk it all. I think that's a
just
lot of
risk it.
people
all.
are, it's scary as fuck, but a lot of people are way too scared to even do that. So,
Dude, oh well, here's
and
the
I think
thing,
it's
man.
easier the younger you start too, because you have less at risk,
Yeah.
but
Well, yeah, because if you
Yeah.
start young, like you have time to make
Like,
up.
I don't
for
have
it,
a
right?
family or kids. It's just me trying to survive in this world. So yeah.
Exactly. As soon as you start adding those new variables, which in a way, like those are beautiful pieces of life.
100%.
And people that want to go to experience that, that's that's what they want to do with your life. But I think you need to be honest with yourself and be like, hey, what do you really want to do? And I know some friends, I'm 25 and I got some friends that are on the age of, 22 all the way to like 30s. Some of them have families, some of them don't. And all on both sides of the spectrum too. And so, just really be honest with yourself and say, this is what I want to do. And friggin' put your whole badussy into it and don't stop. Because if you half-ass something, you're only going to get a half-ass result.
Yep.
Full on.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, last question. Who are 3 people that you would like to see come on this show after you?
dude, I would say, oh my God, if I can get her name right, Jenny, I keep forgetting her name. But the girl she's with Jelly Roll, I'd love to
Yes.
see her on. I
Yep.
know that's like a lot different. I think I'm not gonna try to stay in the vein of people away from EDM, but some of them may be just because that's really
That's
interesting.
fine.
I would say there are some folks in the underground EDM scene. I think they're still in it in Columbus.
Okay.
There's actually 2 guys. I don't think he's in. It's Sam something. Sam Rothstein. He like was really big on like events and kind of a mix between EDM and like underground rap, which is really
Cool.
interesting in Ohio. Big advocate. Another guy out of that would be Raiden Labs, is like his DJ name. But how I got my start too was like doing these shows called Space Camp. There are these like super small, like basement-esque EDM shows.
Sweet.
You just go do that. Those would be interesting people. I don't know if she would do it, but I don't know. I would love to see her on a podcast and just talk about her life in a way. Her name is Nicole Deacon. She was the product manager for Knox and also the product manager for Ed Sheeran.
Oh, cool.
And she's got a cool new job now doing some pretty cool things. I don't know if she can talk about them, but
Okay.
it would be someone worth having on. and she's got a crazy story about her life, but it's very similar to the point, you know, it kind of alludes to the fact of like, what are you willing to sacrifice to
Yeah.
achieve your dreams?
Yeah.
And then it'll allude to that with her past relationships with some people and kind of how she's gotten to the crazy position she's in because her job is one of one,
Sweet.
which is wild.
Well,
But
yeah, we'll definitely circle back on those names after we get off the phone call, and I'll get their contact information from you. But
Oh, for sure.
yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show today and giving me your time. Thank you so much for everyone who else is tuning in, listening to this, or watching this. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and drop us a 5-star review if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. And I hope everyone has a great week. See you guys.
Peace.